welcome to the Life in General podcast. My name is Nick.
And that's a lie. It's all lies.
What's all lies?
Everything. Oh, I'm sorry. We were talking about politics.
Before we started recording, Ian was just singing.
I wasn't really singing. I was kind of like spoken wording the Canadian national anthem. Yeah. The part that I know, which is, Canada.
You're such a dumbass.
It's all I know.
Really?
Sorry.
Our home and native land?
It's not my home and native land. I don't know it.
Maybe
I'd be hard-pressed to sing our national anthem most of the time.
Oh, Jesus. I know the Canadian national anthem just because watching hockey growing up.
Right. And I know ours for the most part.
Do you, Ian?
Yeah, I could probably wing it.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh, yeah, by the way, I'm Ian. Just to finish.
You never said that?
No.
Oh, God.
I'm sure they know by now.
Do they?
Yeah, I'm sure they know. Anyone who's listening to the show knows
that Ian doesn't show up with notes.
Well, that too.
That also.
That I'm here.
I thought you did have notes today.
I do. In my phone.
Where's your phone at?
Right here in my pocket. We're recording and my notes aren't even out.
Do you actually have notes? Or?
Yeah, you sent me 2 articles.
Yeah. But do you?
I read them.
You read them, so I guess that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Anyway,
and they're here for I have access to them for reference.
Any questions or comments, you can email us at contact at lifeingeneralpodcast.com. I don't know where the hell I was going with that. We're on Twitter at LIGpod and Facebook and Podbean and all that jazz.
The tube of views.
And Spotify.
Yeah.
We've been getting more and more plays off Spotify, so that's kind of cool.
Yeah, that's cool.
But anyways, we really didn't have a topic going into this episode. But with the debates this past week and all the Trump pardons and all that stuff, I figured we kind of talk about a hodgepodge of political things.
Yeah. No shortage of illegalities and nonsense.
I feel like last year we didn't talk about politics a whole lot.
We really did try to stay away from it. I think it was a conscious, maybe even slightly subconscious effort not to, just because we knew we were going to be talking about it a lot this year.
And we already have talked about it
so far, and it's only going to get worse from here, people. So if you don't like politics,
or better, depends on which way you look at it.
Yeah. But if you don't like politics, listen anyway, or we'll stab you.
No, Ian, that's a threat. You can't threaten people.
It's an empty threat because I don't even know who I'm stabbing.
That's true. I guess you don't have to know who you're stabbing.
Yeah, but I wouldn't even know who to go to stab.
Just random people.
Because random people didn't hear the threat, so I can't hold them to it.
But you can just imagine that they did.
No, that would be psychotic.
You can be like, oh my God, our podcast is so popular
that everyone knows that they should be listening.
And now I'm going to fucking stab everybody.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's days where I could snap like that. There's days I want to snap like that.
Jesus.
I don't.
And now Ian's committed.
I don't. I have self-control. I've never stabbed anybody. Can you say the same?
No.
Exactly. So there you go.
Oh man, I'm sorry.
It's one thing to say you're going to do it. It's another thing to actually do it.
I'm dying. So like everyone in my house has been sick this whole week. Like Mandy's got bronchitis. Yeah, like all the kids had the flu. I think I had the flu earlier in the week.
Yeah.
So
and if I get the flu, I'm gonna fucking stab y'all.
You get your flu shot.
I did get so did you.
I know, and I was only sick for like 2.5, 3 days.
Yeah, well,
instead of like the 3 weeks that's been lasting everyone. So
yeah, that's true.
That's what the flu shot does.
Yeah, I know. That's what it did to me last 2 years. I got it.
Yeah, so you'll be all right. Sniffles. At least I'm not.
That's allergies. That never goes away.
I'm just over here. Every time I laugh, I cough to death. So
yeah.
I don't know. So what do you want to talk about first, Ian? We got several things.
Let's see. What should we talk about first? Let's go over the light issues. Let's talk about because
we've got 2 articles, and we got pardons, and then we got
Let's
debate.
talk about Amazon suing the government.
So I thought this was kind of interesting because it's another case where Trump is trying to pull politics and screwing people for his benefit.
Yeah,
and this is the other thing is I really haven't heard this anywhere else other than the one article I sent you, and because I'm sure the media is not going to be covering it, but. So there's this big cloud project that the Department of Defense was going to do, And so they sent out bids they requested bids from contractors. And do you remember how many millions of dollars it said it was?
It does. No, I don't. But I got it. That's why I have it. $10 billion.
Oh, so it was a $10 billion contract, and it looked like Amazon had this thing like wrapped up,
Right.
until last year because the owner of Amazon, Jeff Bezos, also owns the Washington Post. So Bezos, the Washington Post, and Trump started having this big feud last year.
It probably even goes beyond
It
that.
does. It went before that, but really,
Trump's always called it fake news.
yeah. But it really kind of hit a new level last year, and then it was shortly after that where Amazon lost their bid.
Right.
So Amazon is now suing Donald Trump. Well,
Suing the government.
He's suing the government, but they're trying to depose the president. So that'd be kind of interesting to see if he'll actually.
I don't see how they could actually do it, though. I mean, is there legal precedent for that?
Because it's to have him testify. I'm sure they probably could force him to.
Really, I don't think they could.
Why he probably still wouldn't.
Right. That's what I'm saying. I don't think they would.
Didn't who was it? Wasn't it Barr before he was named Attorney General? Basically said that the president could pardon himself.
Yeah. Somebody said it. I think the president said it.
Well, the president's a moron, but
I know. I don't think Barr was DOJ back then. It was Sessions.
No, I'm saying it was before. So it was before he actually was named Attorney General.
Oh, he might have. It's something he would say because
I think that was all the speculation of one of the reasons why he was given the Attorney General position.
I can't understand. The only thing I can figure is that Barr is actually secretly in love with Donald Trump. Because you have to assume that someone in his position would have had to have been educated to get to the point that he's at. So he's not an idiot. But he literally is throwing everything he's ever been taught out the window.
For power and money?
Well, for President Trump. Mm-hmm. He's only getting secondary power. He's only getting, the scraps of that power. He's not. What is he really getting out of it?
The other interesting thing about this lawsuit is the fact that it could potentially open up other areas, like the fact that Trump blocked the new FBI headquarters that they were trying to move. They're trying to move the FBI headquarters somewhere else. Mm-hmm. Trump blocked it because the current FBI headquarters is across the street from one of his hotels. So of course he doesn't want that to change. There's another case where there's an investigation going on right now into the contracts for the wall on the southern border. Mm-hmm. There's like a $400 million contract that was awarded to contractors that it looks like they shouldn't have gone to.
Yeah.
And there's another one where Trump is in legal battles with the state of New York. Right.
Right.
So New York's. I don't even remember what the lawsuits were over.
There's several of them.
His business dealings in the state, right? And so there was another contract. It wasn't a contract. It was a federal program that was supposed to be put in place in the state of New York that would have made it easier to travel back and forth to Canada, and would have drastically reduced lines at the airports. Mm-hmm. And the Trump administration basically said, "Well, we're going to put a hold on this program until you guys stop your lawsuits against the president."
Yeah, I remember that. I mean, as far as the contractors go, to be fair to Trump, as fair as we can be, that kind of shit was going on under Bush with the contractors in Iraq.
Well, yeah, that's true. But I just thought about something else, though. It actually might be a good thing if Trump awards the contracts to his contractors, because he's notorious for not paying his contractors anyway. Mm-hmm. So maybe he'll just save the country some money.
Yeah, it's not his money.
I
mean, granted, never really is his money, but this is very different. He'll pay it because it's not costing him anything.
It was a joke, Ian.
I know. Not a good
Fine,
one.
fuck you. I don't see you trying to be the funny man on this damn show.
Because I'm not the funny man on the show. Who is the funny man on our show?
Me, motherfucker.
No, you're not.
Oh, fuck you.
No, we were missing that's where our listeners are going. They're waiting for our funny man. Who's our funny man?
I guess it's neither one of us.
No, definitely not you.
But anyway, so yeah, I think that's probably the biggest thing. As far as the lawsuit's probably not going to really go anywhere or do anything.
Right.
I think it'd be interesting if it actually pulls any of those other cases into the light.
I'm sure it might to a degree, but it's you remember the Teflon Don. This is legitimately
the
the
Teflon president.
There is nothing. His name's Don.
Touche.
Yeah, maybe that's our problem. We're both funny, but not to each other. But anyway, so yeah, nothing ever sticks to this guy. So it doesn't really matter. It'll be brought up here and there, and
but but it's interesting though, because I really haven't heard anything. Is there a date on that article?
I'm sure there is. February 12th.
So
it was in the Seattle Times
just recently.
Yeah, well, it's 10 days ago almost. Well, at the time of this recording, anyway. Well, it'll be 10 days from the time this goes up. So
yeah, it'll be a week and a half. But yeah, I just thought it was really interesting because it's one of those things where I think if there was any other, if this was a lawsuit against Barack Obama, Bill Clinton,
yeah,
you would have heard a lot more.
It would have been all
about
over the place. Yeah. Well, I think it's at the point now where even Trump's opposers and the people who are against him and who would normally do this kind of bring this stuff to light, there's just so much. It doesn't even matter anymore.
The market's saturated.
Yeah,
is basically what you're saying.
Yeah, he's untouchable. So why bother? I mean, that's kind of what the impression I get.
Yeah. And it kind of pulls me into the next thing that we can talk about, which is the kind of the pardons that happened over the. And I think some of it's kind of, it's not as big of a deal as I.
The Roger
feel like
Stone is. The Roger Stone one is.
That one.
No one cares about Blagojevich anymore.
No, but Blagojevich is a fucking moron.
Well, he's a crook.
He's
just an idiot crook.
But the thing is with Blagojevich, it's if I was him. And I had been convicted of the things he was convicted of. And I went to prison for whatever it was, 7 years. And I was pardoned and released. I would just go home and enjoy my...
I know. I saw him online.
No, he's been on like 17 shows in the past couple of days.
And all he does is cry about his cell being small. And
yeah.
I'm like, that's what fucking happens to criminals.
Yeah.
What did you expect? A mansion?
Pretty much.
Well, he is white collar and a white man, so yeah. I'm sure it was definitely better for him than it was for
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure he wasn't in like general population.
Well, he was with other white collar criminals.
Oh, okay.
Trade their stock stats and shit like that.
Yeah, he wasn't in like the
he
wasn't in Sing Sing or
right. Yeah, they're not trading cigarettes.
Yeah.
They're trading stock options.
Yeah, making prison hooch.
Well, no, they probably get fancy champagnes and whiskeys and bourbons shipped in.
But every president pardons people,
right?
And
they don't always pardon people who probably deserve to be pardoned.
No,
either.
even and
because even Obama pardoned a couple that were a little questionable.
Yeah, I'll get to that, but it's interesting. So literally every president, from even George Washington, pardoned. He pardoned 16 people who were all convicted of treason. For the whiskey rebellion, that's what it was. I'm trying to think of what it was. And hell, Andrew Johnson, he pardoned 7,000 people.
Really?
Yeah. Granted, they were almost all former Confederate soldiers, but
yeah, a lot of mistakes on that one, I think.
And
that's 7,000 people who probably shouldn't have been pardoned.
I was going through the list of presidential pardons, and and maybe I did know this, but I obviously didn't remember it, that Richard Nixon actually pardoned Jimmy Hoffa.
Oh, I didn't know that.
In 1971, yeah. Hoffa had been convicted of tax evasion.
Well, I mean, they're all mobsters. They were all in the same.
Actually, that's true.
Same family.
That's true, because Nixon did have major ties to the mob.
Major ties.
But and probably the most interesting one. So people want to bitch and complain about what Donald Trump has done, and Trump's he's pardoned some pretty shitty people that probably didn't deserve it.
It's the Roger Stone one that bothers me because he hasn't even been sentenced.
Oh yeah, I know that. But Jimmy Carter probably has the worst list of presidential pardons.
Really?
Yes. So he pardoned the guy who attempted to assassinate Truman.
I don't know. Someone
Yeah.
tried assassination.
Yeah. He served 29 years in prison
Wow.
until Carter pardoned him. Carter pardoned G. Gordon Liddy from Watergate fame.
Yeah, and arguably a Nixon associate, we'll say,
Yeah.
in crimes and misdemeanors.
He pardoned Jefferson Davis, who was the president of
yes.
the Confederacy.
And long dead.
And long dead, yes.
Yeah.
He pardoned Patty Hearst.
Well, I can almost see that. That's not that bad.
Okay, I'll give you that. Because
Yeah.
you were, and she was already done serving time at that point. At that
Right.
point, he pardoned Lolita LeBron, who opened fire in the U.S. House of Representatives and shot 5 congressmen in 1954.
Some may say she should have gotten a medal.
Jeez.
I am not giving any. I'm not saying anyone should do that.
Yeah.
I was just joking.
And Frederick Ingram. Sorry.
I don't know who that is either.
Frederick Ingram, if I can get the name out, who was convicted of bribing government officials in Tennessee like 16 months before he was pardoned.
Yeah, that one's definitely questionable.
I was like going through the list. I'm like, holy shit. People want to bitch and complain about what Trump's done. Look back.
Well, like I said, my biggest issue, I don't give a shit about the pardons. The one that's bothering me the most is
his
Roger Stone.
interference in sentencing. That's different.
Interference in sentencing, and he's going to end up giving Roger Stone a pardon
pardon
as well.
anyway. Yeah.
So
Because that's all that's the whole part of the deal.
Right.
Was if you, and he's shown this. Look, if you defy the subpoenas and don't testify in all the congressional hearings, that I'll take care of you on the back end. And he's already shown that.
Right.
And then if you testify, you're going to be fired. And he's already shown that's the case.
right. Yeah, I know because he's fired several people
Yeah.
over that.
But if you want, and people, and I've seen this so far this week, as far as going back to like the pardon issue, is people say, well, look at what Obama pardoned people too. Yeah. And he did. But Obama's pardons were, first off, he didn't pardon a whole lot of people. It's far fewer. He commuted more sentencing than pardons.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and a lot of the sentences he commuted were like people that convicted of petty drug offenses
Right.
decades earlier, and
Spending far longer in jail than they should have for what they were convicted of.
yes. And the one like really questionable pardon he did was kind of along the same line. So James Cartwright, who was a retired 4-star general of, I think it was a Marine general, was convicted of lying to the FBI. And I don't even remember what he was even lying about. Well, I don't even remember what the investigation or what they were questioning him about. Mm-hmm. But he was convicted of giving what the FBI said was classified information to an author of a book, even though the author said he didn't receive anything that was confidential. The book was called, I got that name here somewhere. That's the book was called Confront and Conceal by David Sanger. Never heard
I'm
of
not
it,
familiar with it.
So Obama pardoned him. He pardoned Chelsea Manning, which we know who that is.
Right.
He pardoned Willie McCovey, which is, if you're not a baseball fan, he was a former baseball player who pled guilty to tax evasion in the mid '90s and received 2 years. He received 2 years probation, so his time was up anyway. He was given a pardon to kind of wipe it off his record. There was the former owner of Studio 54, who it was kind of the same deal. He pled guilty to tax evasion in '79 and received 3.5 years in prison. He was pardoned also. And then the only one that was like really questionable is Oscar Lopez Rivera, who was the leader of FALN, which is it was a paramilitary organization devoted to Puerto Rican independence. And it's suspected that they carried out more than like 130 bombing attacks. And
In Puerto Rico?
in the U.S.
Yeah, in the
well,
US.
it's Puerto Rico is part of the U.S. also.
Well, that's what I was wondering, if it was like, there or here. Or,
I believe it was
mainland
there. I think it
US.
was there because it was between 74 and 83.
Okay.
And so he was convicted in 81 and received 55 years in prison. And then in 88, he attempted to escape and got another 15 years. So Obama pardoned him the pardon was based off the fact that this guy got way more time than every other person in the organization.
Right.
So I'm sure it was, they looked at, because 81 to, it was the end of Obama's presidency. So the guy had served, 30 years, right? Roughly.
Yeah, thereabouts. I don't know. I'm one of those people. If you're convicted and it's a pure conviction, serve your time. I don't think there should be, release for good behavior or whatever. However, I think we need to modify our judicial system so that not only is there more fairness in terms of that, people not going to jail for crimes they didn't commit, and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Finding a more better balance and sentencing, so that someone who is sentenced to 25 years for their crime serves the full 25, but that's justifiable.
Yeah.
So
It's interesting, though. Like I said, if you look over the list, and I didn't leave a whole lot of people off of Obama's list.
I know people still bitch about Chelsea Manning.
There were still petty things. Obviously, Chelsea Manning and Oscar Lopez Rivera were the two big ones.
Right.
Everyone else was kind of some petty, not petty because it's tax evasion, but just kind of tax evasion. Trump's list,
it's petty because how many politicians evade taxes every day?
how many
Companies do.
what percentage of Americans
Oh,
do
true.
the same thing?
That's true.
I would say,
it always bothers me. I shop on Amazon a lot.
I would say probably more than 70%.
And they charge me a
75%.
tax. They charge me tax every time I buy something. But they're not paying taxes.
No,
So where's that money going?
I know.
To their pocket.
Yep.
So to stop charging me my fucking tax. If you're not paying it, I'm not paying it to you. You know what I mean?
Well, that you can't blame Amazon for that, though.
I can, in the sense that they have the legal force to not pay taxes on their business.
I know that, but that's not so.
I know they have to put a tax on.
There
by the state.
for a long time. Everything was tax free,
Right. But if they're not paying their taxes, then we shouldn't be paying them taxes.
I know.
The state of Michigan, for example, is charging a sales
They
tax.
are paying taxes. They're just getting rebates back that cover more than what they're paying in taxes.
Right. From the state that is forcing them to pay the taxes.
Yes.
So they're not paying taxes.
I know.
We are paying them twice, essentially.
Pretty much.
So that's
Well, they're making money hand over fist over it. But anyway, I mean, it's Amazon and their corruption of the retail market in the United States is a whole different.
Oh, I know.
Story.
And Walmart's guilty of it too, just on a more brick and mortar way of.
Oh yeah, because they've done the exact same thing.
Exactly.
They don't pay taxes on
They
anything.
suck money out of every community they go into.
It's estimated that each Walmart takes $1 million out of the community that they're in.
At least, because
Every year.
does that even count the businesses that have to shut down as a result of Walmart's going
I'm sure that's
into
all
the-
kind of factored in.
Is it?
Yeah, but you, when you say one Walmart equals $1 million a year taken out of the community, that sounds like a big number. And then you got to think, the town I lived in Tennessee
Had like 5 of them.
they've got 6 Walmarts in the city.
Area, yeah.
in the city limits. So that's $6 million they're taking out of the community each year.
Easily.
So it's a big number, and it all adds up. It's the whole retail market's a whole, like I said, a whole different story. But I was going to Trump's. I forgot my what the fuck I was even talking about. The Trump's. So the people that Trump is pardoned. Joe Arpaio, which you know who that is, the former sheriff of good old Maricopa County, Arizona.
Yep. Who not only broke the law, but like violated his oath as a law enforcement agent.
Oh yeah, because
it was just blatant, like a blatant disregard for the law that he swore to uphold.
Yes, yep, and because he kept rounding up immigrants after he was ordered not to.
Exactly.
So he was pardoned. This other guy, I can't say the guy's name, but Sholom Rabashkin. He was Iowa meatpacking magnate who was sentenced to 27 years in prison for bank fraud.
Well, it's on par with some of the other presidential pardons.
Yeah, well, bank fraud and tax evasion
Are different, but
very
they're
different.
Same.
I think bank fraud is a little different because you're basically defrauding
People rather than the government.
Yes.
Yeah.
Dinesh D'Souza, he was pardoned for. I didn't realize though he actually got convicted of campaign finance violations in 2014. Yep. So 2014 though would have been, who was he supporting? Because that was a midterm. Was that from the 2012?
Well,
election?
That conviction was in 2016, but the case went back to before that.
It was in 2014. Okay, so it was probably
his conviction was in 2014, but the case had gone back before that. I think it was even like 2008 was when he was.
Okay, so and if you don't remember, he was the guy that was making the crazy off the wall anti-Obama videos.
Yeah, the Obama's the Antichrist kind of thing. But this is a guy who worships Ronald Reagan.
Well, there's a big negative right there.
Right, exactly. If you know anything about Dinesh D'Souza, you know that he's just a bad person. He's a bad person.
I find, and I've only seen, I have seen some of his stuff, and a lot of it's the information he uses and the sources he uses is highly questionable.
Well, and the first time I ever saw him was in a debate between him and Christopher Hitchens. They were debating religious stuff. And I've watched other debates with Christopher Hitchens. Most people, he pretty much wipes the floor with them. Mm-hmm. Regardless of the topic. I mean, I'm not saying that he's right. I'm just saying that as far as the way he debates, very few people can stand up to him. Mm-hmm. Dinesh D'Souza was like an ant to him. But if you watch the way he argued his case, it was amateurish at best. Yeah. And this is a guy they consider to be a right-wing intellectual. I mean,
it's kind of an oxymoron, isn't it?
It is, but but he is. He's considered an intellectual amongst conservatives.
Yeah.
And if you watch him in the debate, now this is again before all this campaign finance and before I even knew what his political views were, you just watch it and you almost feel sorry for him, especially going up against Christopher Hitchens on this particular topic, because Christopher Hitchens' political debates sometimes it's like, mm-hmm. He can argue them no problem, he can make his case very well, but I don't necessarily agree with his case. He was a strong supporter of the Iraq War. Mm-hmm. And so was Dinesh D'Souza, which is funny.
But obviously.
But see, that's the thing. Christopher Hitchens can make the argument where it's like, yeah, okay, I can kind of see your point. But yeah, Dinesh D'Souza is just, he's a criminal. He's going to do it again. He's going to do shit like that again.
They all are.
Yeah.
They're all going to do it again.
Because they're not smart enough to learn from their mistakes.
Well, no, because they don't have to, because they got Donnie to take care of it for them. Well, especially now pardon all these people. But Conrad Black, who was a British newspaper publisher, he was convicted in 2007 for, once again, fraud, obstruction of justice, for scheming to siphon millions of dollars off the sale of newspapers.
Huh.
But
okay.
And then I'm looking to see down this list here. Another one, Pat Nolan, who's a former California state legislator. He was convicted of racketeering. Mm-hmm. Of course, he's going to get pardoned.
Well, and it's funny because you say all this, and it's like there's cases where other presidents have pardoned people with these similar credentials.
But all of these people,
and it's so weird that because arguably Trump could be one of them.
Oh yeah,
there's been several times where people have tried to get him convicted on these things. He's been in court hundreds of times.
Yep.
And accused of this hundreds of times himself. So it's just basically him and his cronies. I mean, it's the definition of cronyism.
There's another one in here. I thought this was kind of interesting. So Zay Jeffries, who was a mining engineer and former vice president of General Electric, he was convicted in 1948. Mm-hmm. So,
70, almost 72 years ago.
Yeah, good quick math. So he was convicted of violating the Sherman Antitrust Act, and he died in 1965.
Okay, so he's been dead.
Why?
For
what political years. Strategy is it to pardon this guy? Unless it has something to do with his heirs receiving money or something along those lines. I don't know.
Maybe, or just. I wouldn't say that Trump's smart enough to play a long game on this, but if he was convicted of antitrust issues, if you pardon him, you could be setting legal precedent.
There's no legal precedent.
None?
No,
Okay.
there's nothing.
I was going to say, Trump's not smart enough to play a long game like that anyway.
He pardoned a couple of military personnel who were convicted of murdering
Civilians?
civilians.
Of course he would.
And then, of course, it was Blagojevich that he pardoned,
Yeah.
who was, I was trying to look and see where he was sentenced to 14 years in prison.
He served 8 or 7, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it was, he was convicted in 2011.
Okay, so he
So
served
he
9.
served nine of the 14 years.
Still, it's like,
It's just funny that
how many black men are sitting in jail because they had an ounce of weed on them, and there's no chance they're ever going to get out other than once they've served their full 25 fucking years for it.
Oh, I know.
And these white rich motherfuckers get
Mm-hmm.
out for just because they.
Just because they can.
Although Kwame is trying to get Trump to pardon him.
Yeah,
too.
that's not going to happen, though.
No.
That's not going to happen. But,
He's not the right kind of criminal for Trump.
well,
Actually, he is the right kind of
he
criminal.
is the right kind of criminal.
He's just not the right color.
because he's done all the same shit.
I know.
Because I'm pretty sure Kwame was convicted of
Racketeering and all
Racketeering
that
and all
stuff,
that.
yeah.
bribery, and it just, I think you just see it's a pattern of
It
the
is.
same behavior. But when the whole impeachment trial was going on, and the Republicans kept saying, because it's funny how the story changes. They come out in the beginning and they're like, oh well, nothing happened, and then a little while later, after all the facts, some of the facts come out, and they're like, well, yeah, something happened, but it wasn't.
not what you think
It's
it
not
is.
what you think it is.
Yeah.
And then when it starts coming out that it's exactly what we think it is, it's not. Oh well, yeah, he did it, but
It's not illegal.
It's not illegal,
Right.
So-
Then it's mildly illegal, but it's okay because he didn't do it for that reason.
yeah, and then ultimately it landed on, well, it was wrong what he did, but he's going to learn from this
Right.
and move on.
Right. And 2 weeks later, he's doing the same
he's doing
fucking
the same
thing
fucking thing.
in the open.
Yes.
I know.
It's like at some point, and that's why I look at like your average Republican voter, and I'm like, what do you see?
right. Or what are
'Cause-
you not seeing? I mean, that's
No. What do you see? How are these people that you continue to vote into office helping you? And like average, middle of the road Joe Blow,
well, it depends on how you look at it
blue
because
collar.
Trump has been very good at helping with keeping race tensions high, which is good for white supremacists.
Yeah.
He's been good at helping to support evangelical policies such as anti-abortion laws, things like that. He's good at that. He's doing that. He's following through on it.
And how does
I'm not
that
saying
help?
I'm not saying he's banning abortion, but I'm saying he's supporting openly and pushing for those policies. It's helping the people who vote on those issues, which make up a
Yeah.
good chunk of the Republican Party.
It's funny though.
And
it's
gun
like,
issues. Gun's the other thing. That's the other issue that
but outside
he's
of
very strong on.
outside of guns and abortion, what are they doing? What are
That's
these,
all they're voting
I
on.
know
That
that.
and then low taxes.
But the low taxes, the people I'm talking about have low taxes anyway.
Well, technically they don't. They're paying the same percentage of taxes as Donald Trump is.
No,
In some cases more.
I'm talking like people that live in backwoods Kentucky.
well, yeah,
that
'cause
are-
they're just because they're dirt poor, they
And
have no
I'm-
money to
I'm
pay
not,
taxes
I'm not talking
on.
about the dirt poor ones. I'm talking about the ones that are above the dirt poor ones.
Yeah, but
that
still,
are-
even them, they don't have enough money to pay large amounts of taxes anyway.
That's what I'm saying.
Because they can
though.
barely
People-
survive
and
on
people
what
say,
they make.
well, yeah, look at the tax cuts and look
not helping
look
them.
how great Wall Street's doing. Like, Wall Street's not helping these
No, it's not.
these people that are voting for them.
Right. It's not. Wall Street's not helping anybody. It's helping the rich, which is fine. I mean, if the Wall Street's strong, then the economy's strong, which should theoretically help everybody, but it doesn't.
No.
It's just making the rich richer. That's all it's doing. Mm-hmm. And people don't get it. They don't see it.
No. And I was at work last night and I was talking to God, I remember what we were talking about originally. And we were talking about donations to the hospital that we work at. And I was like, I don't understand. Oh, because there's people's names are on like everything.
Right.
And so the person I was working with, they were like, well, why is this named this building, why is it named what it's named? And I was like, well, it's obviously because of who donated all that money. So we started looking into it, and it was a very wealthy family. They donated a large sum of money. I think it was, I don't remember how many millions of dollars it was that they donated, and it was the only name on the building was the husband's name. So the girl I was working with, she's like, well, that's kind of stupid. Why isn't everyone else's name on there? I was like, well, because it's just the way that kind of class works.
Right.
It's
a patriarchy.
Because it was a children's like building. So she was like, why wouldn't you put the kids' names on there? I was like, because the money came from him. It probably came from his family, is where the money all came from. So that's whose name went on there. Right. And I was like, the stupid thing is, the hospital we work for has so much fucking money. I feel sad that people actually donate that kind of money to the hospital. And I know that sounds bad, but you have to think the hospital is building new hospitals for free without using any of their money, and they've got $12 billion in the bank. And it's just
Well, I'm just getting this feeling that you're biting the hand that feeds you, so I'm just going to shut up about that.
Maybe I should also.
Yeah, I'm not going to comment on that.
Because
it's just how it always works.
I know that
it's a public institution, and as a result,
I've always been the same.
Where we work,
the thing, and it's not even where we work. I see it everywhere.
I know.
It's the same. It's the thing that drives me crazy when I walk into a building and I see people's names on that building, and I think to myself, isn't there something better you could do with your money? Donate.
There's a little socialist in you, yeah.
Donating money just to have your fucking name on something.
Yeah, because it's patriarchy, it's peacocking, it's legacy, it's all that rich upper class bullshit that we've been dealing with for centuries.
Yeah,
but it is what it is. As far as where we work,
but when I walk,
we're still a public institution, and we still have to adhere to federal rules more so than other places do.
But think about it. Like you walk down the hallway, and like every single room has someone's name on it.
Yeah,
and it's like,
well, we work for an institution that's been around for over 200 years.
Well, the building we are actually in has been around since 1986.
But still, the institution itself is well over 200 years.
It's one of those things that like. That the money that is poured in places like that, and I'm not just talking about the hospital.
I know.
It's like everything. I see
it at the university.
I see it at zoos.
I think it's even worse in the university side of it, because the university is just creating another generation of patriarchy, another generation of wealth that doesn't help the everyone else. Just another generation of rich people.
In some places, it does.
It does. You're right, but it's overall most, and this is all universities, big universities. At their core, it's just the next generation of rich, mostly white people going through the motions to take over the family institutions and do it again with their kids. I mean, that's what university is, and that's kind of the legacy I'm talking about, as far as we've been dealing with this kind of stuff for centuries. It's generational.
I get it. But it just, I don't know. Like I said, it's one of those things that always kind of bothered me.
Yeah, well, that's the socialist in you. It should bother you a little bit.
It's not really socialist,
is it? It is, because socialists don't have names on buildings.
No one should have names on buildings.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying, But, yeah, I agree with you. But that's just the way it is. It would be nice if people could donate without that,
Yeah. And
help build a children's hospital without having your name on it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm all for donating money to help causes, but it just, a lot of times I feel like you're donating it just to get your name on something.
And I would say the vast majority of those people are doing that. Yeah. So, and the tax haven.
Because that's the one thing I can say is when you walk into the hospital, there's a huge wall where it has all the donations written on it to build the hospital. On the very top one, under the bracket, because there's
I know which one you're talking about.
There's several of them at the very top where they donated over $100 million. Right,
I know.
And the very top one is over $100 million, and it was anonymous.
Oh, really?
Yes.
I never paid that. I just was like, I don't want to steal those. rich people's names.
The biggest donation was anonymous when they built the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. Speaking of socialists, I guess we can get on to the debate. Did you watch? How much of the debate did you watch?
Not much because I worked that night.
I watched the first
I basically watched the recap the next day, the highlights, you can say.
And the good thing is we can kind of talk about this as the caucus is going on
in Nevada.
Nevada.
Yeah.
Is it Nevada?
I kind of thought
Is it? It's.
I've always said Nevada. I don't know.
Nevada, I think.
I've always said Nevada. I've always heard people say Nevada, but I could be wrong.
Do you call it? Is it Oregon?
Oregon.
Because it's Oregon.
Oregon. Well, whatever. It's the same thing.
Nevada.
Is it Ohio or Ohio? I mean, what,
Nobody calls it Ohio. You fucking idiot.
I call it shit state, but I call it boring is what I call it. But anyway,
Michigan's turd.
it is kind of Michigan's turd.
Yeah.
Yeah. Although Michigan's a hand, so why is a turd coming out of a hand?
I guess it's Michigan's wrist.
Yeah. It's limp wrist.
Oh, Jesus.
Sorry, that was bad humor for sure.
But the debate, I felt like it was like the first like interesting debate that the Democrats have had. It was
lively.
It was the debate that should have been happening months ago.
Well, but was it really debating? Now, granted, I only watched the highlights, but was there really any debate on policy, or was it all just attacking Bloomberg? Then attacking Klobuchar, then slightly attacking Bernie, slightly attacking Biden. It seemed like it was just a lot of attacks.
Oh, it was. But they were attacking each other over policy, though. I mean,
were they though? I mean,
they were.
Okay, I mean that's fair if they were. But I didn't see that in the highlights.
Yes, it definitely was more them attacking each other's policies than anything.
Okay,
except for Bloomberg, because Bloomberg's a bumbling moron.
Yeah, I don't. If he had no money, he would be. I wouldn't even want to devalue any position that he could be in.
Well,
by saying he would be there if he had no money.
Well, the whole like horse-faced lesbian line from that was just from a couple months ago,
right?
I mean, that kind of would have cut most people out of the
running.
Yeah. But the funny thing is, my mom is still a big Bloomberg person. If the election happened right now, that's who she would vote for.
Well, I think there's a small, maybe not a small, it could be a large contingent of Democrats who see some of the attacks that Bernie was putting on him as communist. Because he didn't see, it's one thing to say you have an obscene amount of money for one person. Because you can't really deny that, and you can't defend it, really. But you shouldn't say that shouldn't be allowed. I mean, you have to allow, even as a partial socialist myself, you have to allow for balance. Because if you don't have the balance, no society run under one ideology is ever going to survive. Mm-hmm. There has to be a balance of ideologies. You can't have a capitalist society without socialism to balance it out.
Yeah.
Because with the socialism, it balances out the weaker of our group, helps them to maintain so the wealthy can stay wealthy. That's it. I mean, yes, it sounds harsh to say it that way, but I've always said corporations can't survive without consumers.
No.
And if you don't have people, if people don't have enough money to consume, the corporations are going to suffer.
Oh, no.
So it doesn't make any sense not to have regulation to make sure that those corporations work in their own best interest and pay their people a living wage and pay their fair share of taxes.
Look,
everything that Bernie is talking about.
I was a big Bernie fan for a long time, and it was just
I still am.
Look, if Bernie Sanders is the nominee, I'll 100% vote for him. It just he loses me on healthcare.
But see, here's the thing.
I feel
even if he wins, he's not going to get what he wants. At best, he's going to get a hybrid between what he wants and Obamacare.
That. But my issue is, I think he's going to have a hard time in a general election with middle-of-the-road voters that he has to win over from Trump.
Fair enough, but I don't think there's any Democrat on that stage who's not going to have trouble with the middle of the road voters, Democrats especially, because Democrats don't
that's
fall
not
in
true.
line.
That's not true.
Well, all right, Biden and Buttigieg are not going to be able to win over the Bernie guys, the Bernie people.
Well, Bernie voters aren't the middle of the road voters.
That's my point is, yeah, you want the middle of the road voters, but it's the same amount of middle of the road as there is extremes. What you need is something that unifies the whole party.
Oh, I know.
And I'm not saying Bernie's that guy, because he's probably not.
He's not.
But at this point, Donald Trump should be unifying us against him. And it shouldn't matter who it is.
But you know
and
what?
Ultimately,
the thing that,
you look at it, Bernie is not going to get done anything he wants without some compromise. And his compromise is exactly what we need. If we can compromise him down.
This is the issue, though.
It's exactly where we need to be.
Bernie Sanders doesn't compromise.
He's going to have to, though.
Bernie Sanders has never compromised.
He's going to have to. He's not going to get what he wants.
The only compromise Bernie Sanders has ever made in his political career is joining the Democratic Party so he can run for president.
Well,
that's the only compromise he's ever made.
He's going to have to learn, as president, he's going to have to compromise. Because if he can't even get the Democrats to vote for Medicare for All, which he can't,
no,
then he's going to have to find something that they will vote on, which is, like I said, a more middle of the ground, whether it be Medicare for those who want it, which I think is a better plan, but there's still some financial issues I have with it. Or something more akin to an improvement over what Obamacare was.
Yeah, which is what Biden's pushing.
Right. Well, of course, Biden's going to push that because Obamacare is partly his.
I think
anyway.
Biden and Klobuchar are both kind of pushing that.
But I don't want Klobuchar. I'm not going to even argue for her or against her because she doesn't belong where she's at. She's not. I don't like her.
I think she belongs with. I think she belongs there more than Biden does at this point.
It's not about their performances.
Look,
I just don't. I don't like her. I don't know. Maybe I can't even maybe articulate why I don't like her, but I do not like her
because she's female.
No, it has nothing to do with that. Because I like Elizabeth Warren.
Yeah.
My problem with Elizabeth Warren is I just don't think she can go up against Trump. It has nothing to do with her being a woman.
Elizabeth Warren's problem was she was kind of riding this wave of momentum, and then she was exposed for being a politician.
Right. Well,
and
which they all are. There's no questioning that.
They are, but that's the one thing, and that's is big of an issue I have with some of Bernie Sanders stuff he's done and said over the years. It's the one thing you can't say is that he flip flops. He's had the same message for 40 years, and Elizabeth Warren, that's not the case, and she has flip flopped on issues. And she's done a really poor job of explaining why she changed her position.
Right.
And
well, we live in a society where it doesn't matter what your explanation is. The second you change your mind on something, you're
that's not necessarily true.
It's true a lot of the time.
Barack Obama, when he took office, was against same-sex marriage.
Yeah, but that's different though. That's going in the right direction. I'm talking about people who make mistakes and don't necessarily correct those mistakes. But
no, she came out with a new hybrid health insurance idea, and that's when her whole kind of campaign tanked because she was exposed for.
I can tell you this: as far as the far left that I'm aware of, they started tanking on her when she started taking donations from corporations.
But they all do.
Bernie does not.
Bernie gets support from super PACs that take fucking money from dark companies. Absolutely, 100%. You can pull your phone out and look at it. They all fucking do it. I don't care what the message is. I don't care that he comes out and says he's against it every single day. He's even said it in the debate that they asked the question, if you're the nominee, would you take money from Michael Bloomberg to beat Donald Trump? And he said yes, he would.
That's from a single donor.
Okay, but that's still the same thing.
But Bernie's whole message is trying to get it's grassroots. He's all, you see his fucking ads all the time. Help support me, even if it's $5.
Yeah,
from people
but
rather than corporations. Michael Bloomberg is not a corporation.
He's like several corporations,
but he's an individual. I
know that, but that's what
it's not. We're not talking about.
Buttigieg is getting the same thing. He's got individual
My point is
millionaire
Elizabeth Warren
donors
said
and
she
you can-
would not do that, and she did.
And then she did. I know that.
That's where it hurt her. I'm not talking whether. I'm not even saying it's rational. I'm just telling you the people that I know that are left of me don't like her because of that. They're not going against her because of her middle ground healthcare.
So before we started recording, I was talking about I think the issue that Elizabeth Warren had is she aligned herself too closely to Bernie Sanders early on, and it's being proven, I think, now because of the way she's tanked in the polls, that aligning herself with Bernie Sanders at such a close level, she was trying to pull support from Bernie Sanders. I don't think not realizing that Bernie Sanders voters are only going to vote for Bernie Sanders. And I think it was proven in 2016.
Right.
There aren't going to, if the nominee is anyone else, those people that, I won't say all of them, but a good chunk of those people that vote for Bernie Sanders.
I would hope that they realize that the stakes are a lot higher now.
I don't think so. I think they are still Bernie or bust.
Well,
and I think that's where kind of hurts I think that's where that side of the Democratic Party hurts the Democratic Party.
Well, but you can't blame Bernie people for that because you see it on all sides. You see it on all sides of the Democratic Party. If their nominee is not the one, they stay home. If their issues aren't on the ballot, they stay home.
They don't.
Because they fight amongst themselves so much.
Not at that same level.
Do you think the Republicans are fighting amongst themselves right now about whether Donald Trump should be president?
Absolutely not.
No. Do you think they were even back then? They say they were.
We're not talking about Republicans. I'm talking about the Democratic
That's my
Party.
point. Democrats, the infighting it hurts them.
But right now, it's the only section of the Democratic Party that is acting like that is that side of it.
It's always the left. You always got to blame the left. Because maybe I was too hasty to say you had some socialists.
But it is
but see, that's a Democratic talking point. You always blame the extreme left for all the problems.
It's not
when
true.
they go and put up Hillary
Ian,
fucking Clinton
Ian,
against Donald Trump.
Think about it. Where are the younger voters in the party right now?
Bernie.
Okay. So and that's kind of the issue is you've got younger voters who I'm trying to think of a good way to say this. They don't have long-term plans in their head. They kind of live in the moment, live for the now. They're going to vote for the moment, and they look at Bernie Sanders and they say, this is what I want. This is what I want the country to look like. These are the programs I think will help the country. And then when he doesn't get the nominee, they act like the petulant little children most of them are, and they don't show up.
Or they could act like the rest of the Democratic Party who just say,
in 2016,
we don't care about you anyway.
In 2016, they didn't.
No, but the Democratic Party said they didn't care about them anyway. Fine, you Bernie people can go away.
And that was a big flaw of Hillary Clinton's. But Hillary Clinton
it was the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party should never put Hillary Clinton up for option anyway. She was a bad choice.
They didn't. The American public did, Ian.
There's some argument to that, but yes.
What fucking argument? She won the votes by a lot.
There's some question as to whether or not the Democratic Party gave Bernie a chance in terms of promotion and even acknowledgement that he was even a viable candidate.
The problem with Bernie's candidacy in 2016 was he didn't take money. Hillary Clinton did. She had the money to promote herself. Mm-hmm. And that absolutely hurts you. Of course it does.
I'm not saying it doesn't.
But that's not on the DNC. That's on Bernie Sanders.
I'm just saying things were not handled properly.
I think they were handled as well as they should have been.
The DNC and Hillary Clinton should have made a much better effort of trying to get those voters on their side. Instead of just wiping their hands of them and saying they're an extreme fringe
Bernie
right.
Sanders framed the whole run in that election cycle as the DNC screwing him out of his opportunity, and it turned off a lot of his voters. Hillary Clinton was never going to win those people because of that fact.
Hillary was a bad choice anyway.
I think she was also, but you know what? We the people voted for her.
I didn't.
Neither did I.
I voted for Bernie in the primaries,
But,
and I
but
didn't. And
if you look at the primaries, Ian, it wasn't even fucking close, man. It wasn't even
I'm
close.
not saying it was stolen from him. I'm just saying there was no
Because that's what
effort.
sounds like you're saying.
No,
It was
that's not what I'm
stolen
saying.
from
I'm saying what I'm saying is the DNC made no effort whatsoever to speak to those people who supported
after
him.
the fact, because they were
Even before, even at the time, they were still considered fringe. They were like, you're nothing.
But because if you look at the numbers,
It doesn't matter. Even if it's 10% opposed to 50%, you're still telling an entire group of your own people, you're not good enough for us. Your ideas are shit.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they were saying. Whereas the Republicans, they don't have that problem because they say, this is the idea. This is the platform we're going under.
that's because
and
the
everyone
Republicans
falls in
that's
fucking
because
line.
the Republicans don't have a fucking idea, Ian.
Exactly,
They don't
but
have a
my
fucking
point is-
platform, so it's a lot easier. It's a lot easier when you don't have a platform.
Well,
You-
the Democrats need to unify in a sense where once an idea, Bernie's doing really well. If he gets the nomination, we can't have this. Well, he's too leftist for me. No, get behind him.
Oh, yeah,
vote
absolutely.
for him. Get Trump out, and then you can use your voice to change Bernie rather than letting Bernie change the country.
but the thing
Because
and
that's what he has to do. He has to listen to his voters, his constituents.
what's going to go a long way is if Bernie Sanders is the nominee, who he picks as his running mate.
You're right. And to be fair, Amy Klobuchar, I don't dislike her because she's a woman. Because I like Tulsi Gabbard.
Oh no,
Tulsi Gabbard just isn't relevant because she just can't get any votes. But I like Tulsi Gabbard. I would have no problem with her as a VP.
I don't like
But she
Klobuchar
just-
either, but I think she.
My reason for not liking her has nothing to do with her being a woman.
My thing is I think she's too much of a politician, but
That's part of her problem.
You know.
She when she talks, I think I see
that's-
Hillary Clinton.
That's the Minnesota thing.
Well, I don't know what it is, but I just see Hillary Clinton. That's all I see.
I don't see Hillary Clinton, but
Not in any like physical way. Just
no, I know that.
If Amy Klobuchar is
she doesn't
is,
sound
is-
anything like.
no, but if she's
I'm
on the
not-
ticket, I
Oh
just
my
see.
God, Ian! I don't mean like literally sound like. I mean just like it's just I don't know.
I'm just saying, if she's on the ticket, it's a complete and utter repeat of 2016, and maybe that's why I,
wouldn't
don't
say
like her.
that. I wouldn't say that.
I don't think she can go up against Trump either.
I don't think
There are
she
Democrats
would have a hard time connecting.
There are female Democrats I think who could kick Trump's ass, but they're not electable as a president right now.
Like,
Well, I think if Tulsi Gabbard was given the chance,
you think she could?
I think she could at least go toe to toe with him on a debate stage.
Okay, she couldn't. She definitely couldn't win an election.
No, but she could go toe to toe with him on a debate stage. And I'm not talking about electability. I'm talking about actually Hillary was intimidated by Trump.
I don't think she was intimidated. She just
Not outwardly
she-
intimidated.
You know what? She came off as arrogant in the debates,
But in
against
a
Donald
bitchy
Trump.
way.
Yes,
You know, and I hate saying that because
because
that's
she
sexist way to
she
say it.
downplayed Trump because she thought he was going to be easy to beat.
Yeah, maybe.
You know, I think she listened to
I just and
all the pundits out there saying that it was over.
right. I don't know. I just when I see Klobuchar, it's like PTSD. I'm like having flashbacks of Hillary Clinton. Can't explain it. There's not a connecting thread that I can think of, other than I get the feeling, mainly because I don't like her policies either.
Yeah.
But I just get the feeling that if she were the nominee, we might as well just cash in our chips right now.
And I think if Bernie gets the nomination, I think he'll be smart about it. At least I hope he would be.
I think he would be, but he's going to have to fight dirty. He's going to at least verbally dirty. He's going to have to be able to give what Trump. He's going to have to give back what Trump is giving because, and that's true for all of it. It doesn't matter who it is.
Yeah.
If they can't stand up to him, kind of in a playground kind of a way, because that's Trump's game plan.
I think
That's his
I think most of the front runners or the people at the top in the polling right now, I don't think would have an issue doing that.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think so either. I have concerns about Buttigieg being able to do it just because he's inexperienced.
No, I if you watch him, especially in that last debate, he more than handled himself against all the heat he was getting from everyone else.
Yeah, but he's getting it from them. It's different getting it from Trump.
It's the same thing.
I don't know. I think Trump's a much bigger bully than
Trump
they
is
are.
not going to stand up on the stage and call him a fag, Ian. It's like, and that's.
Are you sure about that?
I'm pretty sure he's not going.
Well,
to.
first of all,
I said pretty sure.
And I still hold true. I said this to you before we were recording, and I've said this a couple times before this. I would love, and it wouldn't happen, but I would love to have whoever the nominee is, specifically Bernie. I'm voting for Bernie, but I would love for, if say Bernie got the nomination, I would love for him to take Buttigieg as his vice VP, because I and you laugh because I want to see the debate between Buttigieg and Pence. If that
happened, do you think Pence wouldn't show up for the debate?
I guess he wouldn't have to. He wouldn't. He's not obligated to, but he'd be fucking stupid not to. I think it would. I think it would hurt. I think it would hurt the Trump campaign if he didn't. Because the Democrats, if they were smart, could definitely use it. Say, look, where are their policies? They don't even want to fucking debate us.
Yeah,
you know.
But no, I'm thinking like, would he not show up because he's gay? I don't know.
I think that could hurt the Trump campaign too.
I don't think so.
Those middle ground Republicans who are okay with gay marriage, there are some out there.
Yeah,
and they're not as right to the right as some of the other Republicans. Their votes could be grabbed.
I guess I don't know. It was one of those things that kind of popped in my head.
There's definitely enough.
Because you're right, it would be interesting conversation.
Yeah, it would be. There's definitely enough people in this country who are at least opposed to gay conversion therapy, which Mike Pence has financed himself through through Indiana.
Yes, and
pushed forth through Indiana. So there's enough Republicans in that group that I think they, if he didn't show up for the debate, it could hurt them.
I don't know. I could see that as
VPs have hurt presidential candidates in the past.
Yeah.
And we all know that. We saw it with Sarah Palin. We saw it with fucking...
But you know what, though? You say that with Sarah Palin. I know people that voted for McCain just because of Sarah Palin, though.
Yeah, well, that's true. But look,
so I think that kind of cut both ways.
Was it Kemp and Dole? I mean, Dole had hurt himself, too, but... Kemp was not a good choice.
No,
and
Dole wasn't either. Though, so I mean,
Al Gore beat Kemp. I mean, come on, Al Gore. He's just not. He's as white bread as it comes.
Oh, you think?
And if he looks good on a debate stage with anybody, against anybody,
I remember when
says very little about the person he's debating.
Yeah, I remember it was 96, right?
Yeah, that was 96.
I remember there was a bumper sticker that I saw. It said "Dole for pineapple, not president." I thought it was pretty funny.
Yeah, I guess Dole was just.
It's funny. Bob Dole.
Yeah, I'm Bob Dole. Bob Dole approves this. Because wasn't that his thing? You all right? You gonna die?
Oh man!
Because that was his thing. He would always talk about himself in the third person.
Yeah, it was great. I forgot all about that.
I'm sure that cost him some votes.
Oh shit!
Why can't we have that back? I miss the old days when stupid people just didn't get to have power.
It's kind of scary to think that. I wish we had President Romney. It's kind of scary to think that.
Yeah, I don't know. I applaud his commitment, but I still don't like him.
I mean,
his commitment to the truth, at least as far as this situation goes.
He seems like one of the only, if not, he might be the only honorable Republican.
Yeah, but I mean, on this particular subject, he's still anti-gay.
Yeah.
He's still, low taxes for rich people, high taxes doesn't care about the poor. Just low taxes for rich people.
I wouldn't say he doesn't care about the poor, but
his policies don't seem to function in that direction.
His policies have always been kind of mixed.
I don't know. I still see the Mitt Romney who ran against Obama in 2012.
Yeah, that
and I see that man making a good decision and an honorable decision on this one particular.
The funny
situation.
thing is about that him running for president in 2012 was the fact that he was basically almost laughed off the stage when he said that Russia was our biggest threat. And everyone's like, Russia, what an idiot. That's one of our biggest allies. Well,
12
years later, he was fucking right. Well, 8 years later, he was right.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't say they're a big threat, but I wouldn't say they're our biggest threat.
Well,
I think we are our own biggest threat.
Did you see the? I guess Bernie Sanders was briefed on the fact that Russia's
trying to help him
win.
They want to see, because I don't think they gain anything by him being president other than just the possibility that Trump could win against him.
I think that's what it is.
They think that it could create more dissent amongst us as a people.
That's true.
But they're not doing it for Bernie's sake.
No, they're not.
So, whereas with Trump, I think they're actually doing it for Trump's sake. Because either way, they win.
He benefits
more from it.
Yeah, he benefits more from it.
But
it's I just think it's really interesting that, and it makes sense that that's kind of where they would go in this Democratic field.
Mm-hmm. Well, they did that kind of in the last election. It wasn't just anti-Democrat and anti-Hillary stuff that they were putting out. They were legitimately putting out false statements and propaganda against Trump too on the other side to more polarize the situation. Yeah. It was just targeted.
Yeah.
You target that stuff to people who you already know aren't going to vote for Trump, but it creates this more animosity. The problem is that Trump has lived up to everything that they've said.
Yes.
And then some. Infinitely more than what they did. But it just creates that anger and that riles that base.
That's all. Because it's not. It's all about dividing the country.
Yeah,
is what it is.
It's psychological. It's not. It's not openly we're manipulating the election. It's all a psychological game that they're playing.
And I see those kind of stupid comments online too. It's like, oh well, I'm glad Russia's telling me who to vote for because now I know. Ha ha ha. I'm like, no, that's not what it is.
No,
they're not.
They're manipulating you into thinking you're voting for the right person.
Yes,
that's what it's not. They're not telling you. They're manipulating you.
Yeah,
and they could be manipulating us too. I don't know, but the point is that
you, not me.
How do you figure?
You're a much bigger Bernie supporter than me.
Based on policy, and I can tell you this.
I'm harassing you, and it's all doing.
And I can tell you this: there are Bernie policies that I don't like, but he's still my candidate. I don't like Medicare for all. I do not like it, and if it came down to it, I would still vote for him for president. But obviously. I would make my voice heard that I don't like the Medicare for all. So, and I don't think he's not going to get it anyway. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, I know. But like I said earlier, I think I'm more worried about that turning off voters than, because you're right, it never would get passed.
That's the key. I guess it is. You have to look at it as a long game.
And that was one of the things that Elizabeth Warren came out and said. I think that's who it was. Mm-hmm. That she was looking at putting out policies that could. No, it was Biden, I think.
Yeah. Right, and
wanted to discuss policies that could actually get passed.
Right. The thing is that you, at least in terms of how government should work, and why I like Bernie. I want something more extreme, because then he can come in, say, I want extreme case A. Well, you're not going to get extreme case A. So let's work. What are you willing to give up? Well, let's go to extreme case B.
No,
and then they're saying, no, we want extreme case G. Yeah, and let's work it down to D. I understand that
because it's the same argument for the $15 an hour for McDonald's workers. Right. They're not really. I mean, it'd be great if they could get $15 an hour, but they're looking at it and say, look, let's go after $15 an hour, and then if we get 12, we're happy.
Right.
And you're
still not a living wage.
No, but you're kind of saying the same thing.
Right.
You want to see Sanders get into office and push for more progressive policies, and then compromise to slightly less.
Right. I want him to kind of shift the government, because we're living in a society that's very right wing right now.
My fear is he's not going to get that chance.
Right. No, and that's a legitimate fear. That's a legitimate fear.
And that's why I've said for a long time, get elected.
Right.
Just fucking get elected.
Yeah,
and then we can have the policy debate.
Right. Well, we're gonna have the policy debate no matter what. But
are you?
Well, if he wins,
no. That's
but I don't want him to get elected because he says, okay, I'm not going to go for what I've been pushing for my entire career. But I don't want him to change now. I want him. I'm actually happy he's been consistent for 40 fucking years.
I know that, but that's what I'm saying though. Is that's why I think he might be the wrong candidate.
He might be. We could all be going out on a limb. But I don't see any viable candidate beyond him. I mean, the polls show that there are other candidates who might be able to go up against Trump, and they're all in the same level. You know, one has Bernie doing better than Biden. One has Biden doing better. There's been polls that had Warren doing better, but very few. But you know what I mean? There's
every national poll has all the top 5 Democrats beating Trump in the general election at this point.
Right, and I don't know if that's entirely true. I don't, like I said, I don't.
Some of them are as thin as 1%, and some of them are all the way up to 7 or 8%.
Right. So my point is that if Bernie, I would much rather Bernie lose on his principles than win by going against them, even given the stakes.
So you would rather see Trump win the election?
No,
that's
I
what
would
you just
not.
said.
But I'm
You
not
said-
willing to. I'm not willing to cast my vote for someone who's willing to throw their convictions out the window just to get elected.
But this is what I'm saying, though. So would it be different if Bernie came out and said, "Look, Medicare for all is what we're going to go for, but if I get in office and we can't pass it, a Medicare for all who want it program would be acceptable."
That's what's going to happen.
But what I'm saying though is would that be acceptable, or would that be seen as him flip flopping?
No, that would be fine because I know that's what's going to happen.
Because if he came out and did that, I think he would stand a better shot
and to
in
be
the general
fair,
election.
he probably
but he's
will.
not going to fucking do it. I guarantee
No,
it. I'll put $100 on it.
No,
he will
I'm not-
never fucking do it.
I think if it came down to if he gets the nomination, I can see him softening his stance
No.
slightly, but he
Absolutely
won't
not.
change it.
He will not soften his stance.
I think he would. He's going to have to.
I've been listening.
He's going to have to.
I've been listening to the guy for a decade.
Well, I know, but he's still going to have to. He's still going to have to soften it.
He's
Because
not-
he's going to already be on the offensive or the defense because Trump is going to go after him as a socialist.
Trump is
Period.
going to do that for if freaking.
I know, but
even if Amy Klobuchar is the damn nominee, he's going to label her as a
True,
fucking socialist.
but the problem is Bernie himself has labeled himself a democratic socialist.
I know that.
So that gives Trump way more ammunition.
I know.
So he's already going to be on the defensive for that.
Mm-hmm.
And my point is that's going to force him to have to soften some of his very socialist policies.
And that's why I said it's important who he would pick as a running mate. Because if he
That's why I like Buttigieg, because Buttigieg is more centrist.
if he picks AOC,
Oh, it's over.
it's over.
Right, for sure. No, that's 100%. And I would have a hard time throwing a vote in any direction that's AOC because she's toxic.
Yeah.
She made herself toxic.
Yeah.
She's-
Intentionally.
I don't necessarily think that her policies are bad. I like most of what she stands for, but it's her methods. It's her way of going about it.
Yeah.
Her way of talking. Very, very toxic.
Mm-hmm.
No, thank you. No, he'd be better off finding a VP who is middle ground, a Buttigieg or someone who's more a Biden type.
If he picked Buttigieg as his running mate, I'd be fine with that.
Yeah, and I think he should. I don't know how that works, but I was always under the impression that the candidate picks their vice president. Now sometimes there's some maneuvering and some recommendations. I know that Johnson was thrown on Kennedy against his will.
Palin was thrown on McCain also.
Right. But Bernie's not the type to go. I think if they say, hey, you need to go with this, he'll go, no, I'm going with this way.
Who ran with Romney? Was it Eddie Munster? Was that
It was Paul
Ryan?
Paul Ryan, yeah.
Eddie Munster.
Yeah. God, I hate that guy too.
I'm so glad he's gone.
Well, yeah, but you know why he left? Because he knew supporting Trump was wrong.
I know that.
And the only way he could get away with his conscience was to just fucking leave.
Mm-hmm.
But he never stood up against it.
No.
Never
Not
said
once.
anything out,
Not once.
spineless bastards. I don't know.
All right, that's all I got, though. after we rambled on for about half an hour longer than I thought we would about any of that.
Oh yeah. Well,
I was like, oh, yeah.
more to come. This is very early in the year.
I was like, oh, this isn't a very structured show. I don't have a whole lot to talk about. It'd be nice and quick. I was like, oh, we'll be in and out like 45 minutes on this one. No, it's one of our longer shows.
Is it? Yeah.
Well, not really, but it's an hour and 15 minutes roughly.
Oh yeah, we've gone longer, especially in politics.
Our last episode was an hour and 40 minutes long.
Was it really? I haven't listened to it yet.
Yeah, the Pink Floyd episode.
Really, that one went that long? Didn't feel like it.
Which is short. I really thought that was going to be like a 2-hour episode.
Yeah. See, that's an episode I would think would only be about an hour and a half. Oh, 40 minutes.
Well, you didn't do a whole lot of talking in it. It was basically me rambling for an hour and 40 minutes.
Well, yeah. Well, we're going to do more like that too. Those will be our lighter episodes to balance out the politics.
Speaking of that, I don't know why, but like the last couple of days I started listening to Division Bell.
Yeah.
And it's a good album, but damn, I didn't realize how good of a fucking album that is.
Yeah, it's a good one.
It is.
I've always enjoyed it, even back when I was not really a Pink Floyd fan. I bought it just mainly because the album cover is cool.
It's got a cool album cover.
And, when it first came out, when it was 94, I was 16, so,
Yeah. It was cool. I remember it in the store with the blinking light on the side of it. Yeah. You can still get them.
Yeah.
The batteries are interchangeable, so you can replace the batteries in it. But
I think I told you, but because I haven't bought it yet, because I'm waiting I want the vinyl. But Tool's new album, Fear Inoculum.
Yeah.
When you open it up, it's got a little video screen in it, and there's this weird, trippy video thing that plays on a loop.
Yeah.
And that's got interchangeable batteries too. That's pretty
cool. Yeah. Pretty cool. I guess in today's day and age, you got to kind of put something out there and make yourself stand out.
I guess. I mean, I didn't even know about it. The album's been out almost a year now. And,
Has it? I guess it has
8 months. I think 8 or 9 months. But
yeah, because it came out in summer last year.
Right.
Yeah.
And I just found out about that screen about less than a month ago.
Yeah. I don't know.
I still just want the vinyl.
I like some of Tool's music. I don't know. It's just,
that album's good though. I really liked it a lot. I mean, I like all of Tool's songs. I like the vast majority of their catalog.
Yeah.
I was never a big fan of A Perfect Circle. I don't know why, but I need to re-examine it. But I like Tool a lot. So was it Pussifer? Is that other band that?
Because you are a fucking Tool.
Yeah, well. I'm in good company with you, I guess. Because you're a Tool, too.
Wah, wah, wah. Anyway, any questions or comments, you can email us at contact@lifeandjailpodcast.com. Check us out on Twitter. Ian, what's our Twitter handle?
Some Twitter.
At
LIG. At pod. LIG pod.
Yes, LIG pod. Is that because you read it off the screen?
I can't see that.
Oh, fuck you. I bet you can.
I can't. Trust me.
LIG pod.
That's what I said.
Yeah, I know. But we're on Podbean, iTunes. I guess it's not really. I keep saying iTunes. It's not really iTunes anymore. It's Apple Podcasts.
Apple Podcast.
But yeah, we're on iHeartRadio, Spotify, YouTube, all the other stuff.
Yep.
All right. Well, until next time.
Talk to y'all later.
Peace.
Play my role, let me tell you about it. This shit right here, man, I'm about it. Only real niggas reside around me. Yo, old lady, drop a guard around me. Dip like I know you can, bitch. Show me the ropes like we in the ring. Got you some cobras, you wanna hang. Shoulder to shoulder, them niggas basic. You know I won't lie. You know that I ain't for that fuck shit. You niggas alright, but I'm way better and she love it. Know that y'all sick as fuck. Here go this tissue, bro. We taking the dub. Hoping you get you some. This hit like a pick me up. She taking my drugs. Know they see the sign. That's some dollar signs. Know they sick as fuck. Know they sick as fuck. Tell them get well soon. Tell them get well soon. Know you sick as fuck. Get well soon.
Oh shit. Watch out, you the god Billy Ocean. Right now, and I'm smiling in your face, bitch. With a gold smile, you should probably make placement. To your eye, niggas sick as fuck. Standing with niggas who down for that party. Who down for some bitches who showing their bodies. Swear to God, nigga, this Molly got me up and rolling. These bodies of water. Bring that shit in bottles. We my shit to